Hey everybody, we're bringing back Real Talk, and we're going to talk about something we haven't brought up before, and that is Game of Thrones. I mean, we just saw the 5th episode of the final season, and upcoming at the end of the week, we're going to have the final episode. So what we want to do here is discuss just kind of a recap and reaction to episode 5, and then we'll also do a little preview / prediction of the final episode. So why don't we start with our reactions overall on just kind of like a high level overview of episode 5. What are your guys' initial thoughts? Like, how did you react to it when the episode ended?
I think the state of King's Landing overall encompasses what I think about the final season.
Meaning?
It's a flaming dumpster fire.
Really?
I mean, it's been entertaining thus far. Certainly. As far as the score goes, the effects have been absolutely incredible, but I feel like a lot of the plot lines have fallen short of my expectations. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, if we're talking about the storyline for the whole season up to this point, because it sounds like that's where you were going with it.
Yeah.
I would say that, it started kind of going in the direction early on of like, okay, there seems to now be this challenge to Daenerys Targaryen that perhaps she's not going to be the one chosen to sit on the Iron Throne. And I think that's been the big theme for me, is just seeing like the revelation about Jon Snow really being a Targaryen, and he's the rightful heir because he has a penis, or whatever we want to attribute that to. But he's like the rightful heir of the throne, and he's also seen as kind of like the one with the moral high ground by a lot of the people. So he's like more respected than Daenerys, and he's technically like the rightful heir. So now there's this power struggle, and you can tell that she wants to keep, she's, because all that she's gone through in the previous seasons, she feels it's her time, and she doesn't want to give that up to him. That's the impression I get from everything. And that really came to a head in the most recent episode when you saw that she made the decision, okay, I'm going to try to win over the people through fear rather than having moral high ground. So
win over the people through fear.
Right.
I mean, I guess at this point you could say, like you said earlier, Jon does have the moral high ground at this point, and that's one of the things that like she was fearing, is that people liked him because of like he's so good and all that stuff. And she realized as soon as she got here, there's no way she is going to be able to get the people to love her with how much they love these leaders that they already have. Mm-hmm. There's these people that are already there leading them and doing the things they want to do. And then this person they've never seen before, who is just like, my family used to be in charge, like comes back and expects everybody to just listen. Like they're obviously going to be more loyal to the person that they elected, first off. Second, that has been doing them right so far.
Let me ask you guys this. What point do you think was her breaking point? Like where she finally snapped and went from trying to free the people to just committing mass
I think genocide. It was when the cat got out of the bag with the whole Jon Snow being a Targaryen. Like once that rumor, I shouldn't say rumor, but the truth, once the truth spread and, Sansa found out, and Tyrion tells Varys, and then of course we all know what Varys tried to do. Mm-hmm. So I think once the cat got out of the bag and she realized there's no containing this, that's when she kind of snapped and was like, okay, I'm going to have to change up my game plan here.
Dude, I think I have to agree, and I think I just had this thought, I think that her saying that she has to now rule through fear instead of love after Jon kind of like turned her down, I think that not only applies to the people, but it applies to her relationship with Jon. Since he doesn't love her in the way that she wants him to, and in the way that she thought he would, she now has to go, well, fuck you, and then just do the same thing. She then killed one of her closest advisors in Varys. Right. So Jon is now basically like, oh, if I do say anything, she'll have that dragon eat me. Like,
right.
It goes deeper than...
That's like a fatal flaw with Stark men, though, is like they stick by duty to a fault. Ned Stark did, and that's what ended up getting him killed. Same thing with Robb.
He kind of went against duty.
Actually, he did. You're right.
He chose love over, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
It is historically is a fault.
I just feel like if Jon Snow had taken one for the team, and just and gotten back into bed with his aunt, millions would have been saved.
That's a hard one to take for the team, though. You know,
I just feel like not just the people of Westeros, but also the fan base of Game of Thrones watching this episode must have came to the conclusion of, wow, Daenerys really just like burned up all of King's Landing with her dragon, kill a bunch of innocent people, like fuck her, like, and just having that reaction, like, because you had so many people that were like a big fan of her, and now they like are kind of like, okay, which now she's gone to the dark side.
You see other people that name their kids after her and are now like, oh shit,
yikes. Well, I mean, even when they were in Winterfell, and after they had survived the Battle of the Long Night, they. Like, you could see that she was still, like, on the fence about being still a benevolent ruler or, like, being closer to where her dad was. But then I think, like you said, once they actually made it to King's Landing and she realized that, the masses are going to rejoice for Jon Snow instead of her, that was her breaking point.
Well, I think the battle contributed to it because she was hoping to be the hero of the battle.
Exactly.
Not only that, but it's sitting in front of the whole room of people, and they're ignoring her. She's sitting there in front of them for everyone to see, and nobody's paying attention to her. They're all looking at Jon Snow, talking about how crazy he is for riding a dragon. He's either a madman or a king, which ends up being a line that people quote a lot. Either a madman or a king, and there were two people riding dragons at the time. One might be king, and one might be madman. Who knows?
Good point.
I think that contributed is she was hoping the battle would earn her the love from the people, and it obviously didn't. It earned the people they already loved more love, and they're still indifferent towards her.
Right.
And now they're not indifferent. I'm sure they view her very negatively.
I think she's at the top of Arya's list now.
So speaking of which, a good transition into the way Cersei died. I mean, not what I was expecting. Just very anticlimactic in my opinion, but
anticlimactic, but almost like poetic. Like
in a way, yeah.
Her and Jaime, like Jaime died trying to get back to her, trying to save her. She died buried under the weight of all of her mistakes, essentially.
Right, and even in a simpler way, they came into this world together and they left that world together. And his line about wanting to go out in the arms of the woman he loved and all that.
So, what were your guys' favorite, if you had to pick a favorite part of the episode? Because I can tell you what mine was, and I thought it was one of the more redeeming parts of the episode. Seeing the Hound fight the Mountain in that dramatic fashion, I love that.
Yes. I do have to say, watching the Mountain break Qyburn's head on the side.
That was actually my favorite part. Yes, because he was like, "Protect your queen, yeet!"
The Mountain and the Hound.
Yeah, I loved like the way just like he's like fucking die already, and he's just like not dying. It's like, all right, well I'm just gonna tackle you through this wall, and we're just gonna both fall to our deaths. Like that was fucking perfect.
Zombie Mountain is more terrifying than the White Walkers
for sure.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if there was like 5 of them?
Fuck
like
that.
They'd run shit. They would run shit silently.
So for me, it was a redeeming part of the episode to what overall I was unimpressed with the fact that like they kind of, it was just a very one-sided battle. I mean, it was very one-sided.
Yeah.
It was almost like, and we saw it also when they were trying to like, those guys are trying to surrender, and then like, then all of a sudden you hear the dragons just like, all right, let's fuck these guys up here. They surrendered, dropped their weapons, like, and that's when Jon had his epiphany. But I thought the Hound and the Mountain fighting was one of the better parts of the episode. What do you think?
I would agree with that. That was maybe my favorite part of the episode. Qyburn. One thing I was glad to see, maybe not my favorite part of the episode, but I think a really good moment in the episode was the goodbye between Tyrion and Jaime.
Oh yeah.
That was a good moment.
No, they definitely got a proper goodbye.
Yeah, that was like my favorite. Like out of all of like the resolutions to different people's relationships, that was my favorite resolution to the relationship because it went the way you wanted it to, the way you hoped it would. It's just like those two guys are the only one that truly understand each other in the whole world. And it's just nice to see like Tyrion returns the favor of setting Jaime free, saves his life, presumably anyway, in his eyes, and it's just It was a good moment, a good resolution to the arc for them.
Well, and it was, definitely beat the goodbye between Jaime and Brienne. So, it was...
And between Jaime and Cersei, I think, too. But, yeah, the goodbye between Jaime and Brienne. What goodbye?
What about you, Mario? What would you say?
I mean, I was definitely with Pat on that one. My favorite part was certainly when Qyburn met his fate at the hands of his own creation. Very poetic. But other than that, the ending was very beautifully shot, but I didn't understand the place of it. When Arya just stumbled upon that horse that had somehow survived all the carnage.
Yeah.
Whose horse was that, anyways?
It's a pale horse, and on it rides death, right? It's a biblical quote.
I mean, are we supposed to interpret that she's kind of washing her hands of the situation and won't be in the final episode? I mean...
Maybe. Maybe.
I think she's going to try to kill Daenerys for doing what she did.
That's true. But going back to the scene where she had with the Hound, do you think that had an impact on her and her just cleansing herself of a desire for revenge, or do you think that she's just going to continue on that path?
That's what I'm starting to think now that I think about like the way they ended it with her taking off on the horse. Like maybe she's just going to like be a hermit now, and she's just kind of done.
She's gonna Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Maybe she's leaving Westeros because remember she had mentioned like in earlier seasons and even in the book about sailing past the Summer Sea to find what's west of Westeros.
I don't know, man. It would be such a weird. I guess it would be good, but it would be a weird twist for me to just have her go through all this stuff with literally surrounding herself with death voluntarily and purposefully for so long, and then just. I guess it would make sense. Sees too much death and then just turns the opposite way, but
stranger things have happened thus far.
It's true. But I think that like the love for her family and stuff that's still alive would probably keep her around in some capacity anyway. Speaking of family, did you hear the theory that Bran warged into the horse and brought it there to get her because he knew that was going to happen? It wasn't just a horse that happened to not die in Dragonfire.
But why didn't he just warg into the dragon?
I don't know. I don't know if that's possible.
Maybe.
He can work into people. Just work into Dany and make her not do that.
So why don't we talk about what we think could happen in the final episode? I mean, I have to say, like, my initial thought is, like, there's so much stuff that could happen. Can you even fit it into a final episode? I mean, I feel like they could do a couple more episodes maybe, but, I mean... I think that what's going to happen ultimately is they're going to resolve this power struggle between Jon and Daenerys, and only one of them is going to come out on that Iron Throne.
Who do you guys think is going to make it out of the two of them?
Between Jon and Daenerys?
Yeah.
I think Daenerys is going to die. It's just the poetic, like, justice of retelling the story of her father.
Right.
It just makes too much sense. It's like I said, it's perfectly poetic.
I think she kind of has to at this point.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see what they do, mostly because they haven't mentioned her. Like, she hasn't had a big part is with Sansa. I wonder, dude, she's up to something. Like, she's got to be doing something.
Sansa's
they can't just let the throne maybe fall to Jon and he just goes, yeah, well, you can rule in the North. Like, that's just such a terrible ending for her character to just, like, have her happen to win because of whatever.
Right.
She's doing something. Like, they have to give her.
Well, are you suggesting she's going to turn on Jon to try to get the throne? Because that seems a little far-fetched.
No, I don't think she's going to turn on Jon to get the throne, but I think she's going to do whatever she has to do to make sure the North is free and under the rule of a Stark.
Well, yeah, I mean, so here's the thing is, like, why I think Daenerys ultimately can't be the one to just sit on the throne unchallenged is because she doesn't have an ally left. I mean, I feel like after this last episode, she kind of alienated anyone that was on her side. Even Tyrion probably came to the realization, oh, Varys was right. Shit!
Yeah.
You know? And I mean, it's just... we'll have to see what happens, but I'm thinking that somehow Jon is going to end up sitting on the throne. Or, I mean, I definitely think Daenerys isn't going to end up being alive sitting on that throne at the end of the final episode.
What
I just don't see
it. What do you guys think is going to happen to Tyrion? Because he committed treason in Daenerys' eyes.
So I read a weird, perhaps spoilery article, but I heard that basically, eventually, what ends up happening is that a bunch of people make Bran king, and there ends up being a king's council, which includes Tyrion. I also heard a way where Tyrion just gets killed for letting Jaime go.
Yeah.
But
why would they make Bran the king?
I mean, according to this article, what happens is Dany confronts Jon for betraying her. He pledges himself to her and then immediately kills her. Right? Which, not all that unexpected. If that's what happens. It's just one theory, right? But after that, he's just like, no, I'm not doing it, and takes the black or something like that. And then Tyrion.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he has been reluctant to want to be in that kind of position the whole time.
So then what happens is Tyrion and everybody else just go, let's have a King's Council. But that's also one of like 4 theories I read in this article. Another one is that like Jon gets killed, and then another one is Bran just rules on his own, and then there's a King's Council. But I don't know. I for some reason I feel like Tyrion's gonna make it. I mean,
I have heard that they filmed like 3 or 4 different alternate endings, just to prevent like leaks or spoils.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah,
it's awesome though.
Yeah,
but I mean, Tyrion has just been too valuable a player to everyone. He's played every side because like he's so valuable. So I think to have him die off in a manner like that when he has like not purposefully, just kind of unwittingly been such a huge impact on the world.
I mean, the most powerful member of the Lannister family died on the shitter, so I mean, you know.
Yeah, but really, kind of like, if you think about it, Tyrion has quietly been the most powerful Lannister just by being put in positions, like, right? Like, he was the hand of the king for multiple people, was just always at a point of influence and counsel for high people.
Yeah. He saved King's Landing from Stannis Baratheon.
Exactly, and still everybody hated him.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyrion's probably the best character in the show.
I just think about sometimes what would have happened if Tywin Lannister didn't die, like, from that crossbow. Like, if he was still involved with...
Tell you what, Charles Dance would still be, like, the most terrifying dude ever.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, so ultimately... I'm guessing it's Jon on the throne at the end, but maybe that's a little too predictable. Maybe they go another route.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing Tyrion. Tyrion on the throne, just like some crazy shit.
I mean, do you think
happens.
the people would accept like a dwarf king, though?
I think that he's just, like I said, sewn himself in so tightly that maybe if Dany gets killed, everybody else will be like, you're the best guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That'd be cool.
If Dany goes, then any other option seems very palatable.
Yeah.
Like if she dies and then Jon takes the black again or something.
Well, the other question is why
or he dies, you know?
The black is supposed to protect the realms of men from the dead, so they don't exist anymore.
Right,
so
would there be a need for the...
Well, let's just say he refuses the throne or he dies, and I guess like someone else has to
true.
take it.
That's true.
Yeah. Maybe he goes back to just hating wildlings for no reason. Just because the black has to exist.
Or maybe he goes back to the north and joins up with Tormund and Ghosts again.
Hangs out with Ghosts? That'd be awesome.
Who he did not pet?
No, dude, that's terrible.
Unbelievable.
He's the worst dog dad ever.
So I think that does it for our recap of episode 5 and our preview of the finale. And make sure to like and subscribe. We're going to have more Real Talk videos coming out. And go ahead and leave us a comment. I mean, you know, let us know what you think's going to happen for this final episode. Well, you know, if you got some inside information, we'll take your spoilers. So throw them at us.
We should probably do a review, right?
Maybe.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah, next week.
Thanks for watching, guys.